Well, my favorite of all time was the first one that I was ever exposed to. My father used to bring me to Yankee Stadium, so Bob Shepard is my favorite. And then I worked at St. John's for 9 years, so I got to actually meet Bob Shepard and work with Bob Shepard for ceremonies and we did a baseball stadium dedication. And Bob Shepard was the guy, and I was kind of feeding him his script page by page. But I can admit this, and Adam's sad to say, but Bob Shepard would not like the way that I announce at all.
I think he's the only, maybe I'm sure there's someone else who would do it, but he was like intellectual.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think any of our announcers these days,
Okay.
I don't think any of the announcers these days, that's no knock on them. Some of them are friends are intellectual like he is.
Bob Shepard used to say that he announced the games the same way that he reads in church, and I can assure you that I do not announce games the same way that I read in church. No, I did not. 2:15? Oh, wow. What's that? Yeah, actually, he rents from me in the city during the season. He'll be here next week. So, I think the YouTube broadcast has already started, or I'd admit that I've been slowly poisoning him for 4 years. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the main interview room. Head coach Roy Williams of the North Carolina Tar Heels will join us in just a few moments. He'll be here for 30 minutes of availability for your questions and his answers. We'll have Theo Pinson and Joel Berry II join us after some time as well. Then Joel and Theo and three of their teammates will be in breakout rooms. They'll be available to you from 2:20 to 2:40, and then they're going to move on to rights holder photos and videos, etc. From 2:45 to 3:15, their teammates are available in the locker room for your questions and answers. So 1:45 to 2:15, we'll have head coach Roy Williams. At about 2:20, we'll have the breakout rooms begin for 5 North Carolina student athletes. And then 2:45 to 3:15, the locker room will be open for North Carolina for the availability session there as well. And then, as I said, Coach Williams will begin here by himself. After about 20 minutes or so, we'll have Theo Pinson and Joel Berry up here as well. Just keep in mind that you can still ask Coach Williams questions when the North Carolina student athletes are here, but if we get toward the end of the clock, we do have to get some for the satellite feed with the student athletes, so we'll have to move to one. If we get down to the last 1 or 2 questions without student athlete questions, we'll have to get one in. Everybody good with that? All right, sounds good. Jesse, I always take care of you. You know that. You know we're getting that in. We have just the simple rule in here that you can't call shotgun until you see the car. But you weren't penalized, right, Jim? You got yours in. Coach Williams is ascending to the top of the dais right now. Hey, Coach. That's a pretty good intro, Coach.
Ascending. I like
Move
that.
it down here. I'll move this stuff for you.
No, it's all right. I'm going to say it right there.
Okay. We'll ask Coach Williams to give a couple brief thoughts, and then we'll take questions for Coach.
Okay, we're ecstatic to be able to play on Monday night. Last night was a weird game. One of you guys, I don't see the person that asked it in here, asked Kennedy if he had ever been in a game like that. And Kennedy said, well, yeah, I've played a lot of basketball. I looked down and thought, I've coached for 44 dadgum years. I've never seen anything like that. We missed 4 free throws in the last 6 seconds. But we're ecstatic. We got by a very, very good Oregon team, and we're ecstatic to be here and getting ready to play what I think has been the best team in college basketball all year long, and a great friend of mine in Mark Few.
We're going to make our way through the room. We're going to start over on the right side. First question for Pat, and then we'll go to Ralph, and then we'll come back through over to the left.
Thank you. Roy, Pat Forty from Yahoo Sports. Just wondering if this might be a bit of a throwback low-post matchup with Kennedy Meeks and Shemek Karnowski.
A very big low-post matchup. It's strange, and Mark and I were just talking about it a few minutes ago, that all year long we've had to send our big guys out on the court to play against all those screen and pop guys that want to shoot three-point shots, and how comfortable it is that we can tell Kennedy and he can tell Karnowski that you don't have to do that this game. And both of us do play most of the time with two post players, and enjoy getting the ball inside. Enjoy shooting three-point shots, but also have the first option of going inside. So in that terminology, or in that sense right there, it will be something that we haven't done a lot of this year. But, he is a big fella. I just shook his hand a few minutes ago, and it just engulfed mine. And I've been around some big guys before, but he's a big dude.
In that same area, Ralph?
And really gifted, if you think, Pat, really gifted in how he passes the ball, too. So, excuse me.
Coach Ralph Russo from the Associated Press, you had talked about your friendship with Coach Few. I was reading one of your quotes, and you said something to the effect of you were nervous for him because you knew how good of a team he had. Does that at all sort of reference to the idea that you've had some very good teams? There was points in your career when you had those very good teams, and you can sort of relate to the idea of maybe the pressure or what it's like to have to respond to having those good teams? And
I think probably so. The only difference is I was really lucky because my third year as a coach, we played in a national championship game. I thought it's supposed to be like that way a lot. But 2 or 3 years ago, Mark, I think, was the number one seed at that point. And we had some discussions, and I thought maybe that the pressure got to his kids. And so to be able to do that, what he did all year this year, and then to turn around and come through down the clutch in big games, whether it was West Virginia or South Carolina last night, for sure it's got to be a comfortable feeling for him. But I would say that probably had a lot to do with it, but more so just because I really genuinely like him as a guy. I mean, we've had some fun together.
We're going to go to Dennis in the back of the room, then we're going to go to this area, and then we're going to come back across.
Okay.
Hey, Roy, Dennis
Hey, Dennis.
Dodd, CBS Sports. Congratulations.
Thanks, Dennis.
Typically, in major infractions cases that last this long, by the time they get done, some of the only people left to bear the brunt of the penalties have nothing to do with them. How concerned are you that innocent players, coaches may have to someday suffer some of this stuff?
Not a lot. And the reason I say that is because my firm belief that we did nothing wrong. Okay, and that's just the best way to put it. Were there some mistakes made? You're darn right there were. Were there some things that I wish hadn't happened? You're darn right. But there were no allegations against men's basketball. So I've sort of hung my hat on that part, and I know we did nothing wrong. And I find it hard to believe that it could go that far. Do I believe, again, at our institution there were some mistakes? You're darn right I do. I'm very mad, sad, ticked off, any way you want to put all that terminology about it, embarrassed and all those things too. But we've received a tremendous amount of hurt already over the last 3 years. And I don't see Jeff in here, but last night asked me if I thought it was any benefit from having to go through this junk, and I just had a difficult time understanding that because for 3 years it's been very difficult to recruit and do a lot of other things.
Staying on that right side, Nancy.
Nancy Hummer, USA Today Sports. We're following up on that. Can you describe what it has been like? I mean, I'm assuming that people use that against you in recruiting, and how do you deal with that? And more specifically, what do you tell the players who are coming in basically on faith?
Yeah, and Nancy, that's exactly. I mean, the thing I was most proud of is that Joel, Justin, and Theo all committed to us during their junior year, and then right then it's when things started coming out, and they stuck with us. They trusted me, and that was one of the most satisfying things I've ever had. And maybe I'm not as good or we're not as good, but in the first 10 years we recruited 26 McDonald's All-Americans in our first 10 years. In the last 3 we've gotten 1. And, I don't think I got that dumb that quickly. And so it was that the doubt that people could put in, some of them directly, some of them indirectly, but still bringing up the doubt was something that was hard to deal with. And I had one dad say, well, we're just going to wait till the spring and it'll be over with by then and we'll know exactly what it was. That was 2 years ago. We still don't know what it is.
Just the left side of the aisle here.
Aaron Beard with the AP. Coach, you trusted Isaiah Hicks enough to put him on the court when you had to defend a shot for a national championship, but obviously he hasn't played what he's capable of doing in the tournament. How are you handling him? What's not going right for him right now?
I would say I'm not handling him very well because I'm not changing it so far. Last night, I really thought he was going to have a good game. really felt that he would have a good game. And the first shot was blocked, and the second one he was sort of wide open and missed that. And then he tried to rush everything a little bit, and it sort of snowballed on him. But the game before that, I think he played 20 minutes and had 0 rebounds. So it's a tough time for him as an individual. I keep trying to tell him I believe in him, I trust him, I'm going to keep putting you out there. I've said many times I'm not the smartest, but I'm not the dumbest guy. So if I keep putting you out there, I must have more confidence in you than you have in yourself. So hopefully things will change Monday night.
To the third row.
Hi, Roy. Steve Karp with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Do you have a favorite Kennedy Meeks story to sum up what the relationship's been like with him over the years?
It's been love and hate, and it said it with a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, because I've been on him hard. I really have. I'd probably say that I've got on Kennedy and Bryce harder than any 2 players I've ever coached. I'd say Bryce number 1 and Kennedy number 2. And I pushed him last night. I got mad at him, took him out for 3 or 4 minutes, just didn't like one thing he was doing. But I keep pushing him. But I can't say that I've got one story, because he's just a lovable big teddy bear. I have a great deal of respect for how hard he worked when he got there and lost 50, 60 pounds, whatever it was, because that has to be extremely difficult. When I went in the home for my home visit, there were 18 people in the home visit, not counting me and Hubert. And I saw that kind of family, and that's the kind of youngster that I really love. And he keeps coming back, and I keep pushing him, and hopefully at the end we'll both look back on it and think it's been a great partnership.
In the second row.
Hey, Coach, Jeff Gravely, WRL-TV. We heard this on your teleconference, but we have to get it on video. We talked with Mark Few about it. Memphis, Mark Few, playing craps and cops. Please fill in the blanks.
This is a good story. I'm just I'm not embarrassed. I loved it, to be honest with you, but it's something that probably – I'll give you this. My high school basketball coach got me in coaching, got me on the golf course, and helped teach me how to shoot craps. My wife thinks he's 0 for 3. Okay, but he's here with us. But, yeah, we're playing. We're in a Sweet 16 in 2009. We're going to play Gonzaga in Memphis. And we won 2 to get there. They win 2. So I call him Monday. I said, when are you going in? He said, Wednesday. And I said, me too. I said, what time you put your guys to bed? He said, midnight. And I said, me too. I said, where are you staying? He said, Holiday Inn. I said, we're at the Peabody right across the street. I said, don't give me an answer. Mark used this terminology. He thinks the statute of limitations should be over with by now. So I said, don't give me an answer for 24 hours, but I want to take my staff down to Tunica and shoot craps and go down there after midnight and stay 2 or 3 hours. I just want to see if you bring your staff and go with us. He said, I'm in. I said, no, think about it for 24 hours. I said, I'm an older guy, I've been around a while. Maybe, somebody might say something negative. And he said, no, I'm in. And I said, no, I'll call you tomorrow. So I called him the next day, and he answered the phone and said, Gamblers Anonymous, and which is probably not something either one of us should be saying. But he said, all right, we're in. And NCAA had those courtesy cars. And the tournament's doing a lot better now since 2009. We had these small little vehicles. So I think I had 5 guys in my little car, one of them sitting on a console. I think he had 6 in his. We met in the parking lot. We drove to Tunica. We played 2 or 3 hours, shot craps. We both lost. We get back in the car and heading back up to Memphis. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I get pulled over. And I was speeding, but it was like 2 or 3 miles, and I was really surprised. And I realized that I had the NCAA logo thing on the side of the car. And the guy came, he said, Coach. And he said, I wondered if somebody had stolen the car or something like that. And so we talked a couple of seconds. I said, if I could bribe you, I'd give you $100 if you'd stop Mark Few. He's about 15 minutes behind me. So the next day I came running into their shoot-around and got the equipment manager and called him over. I said, did you guys get stopped last night? And he said, no. And it just ruined my day. So, but that's the story. But I think coaches should be able to have fun with each other, and he's a good guy.
In that same area, second row.
Coach, congratulations.
Thank you.
Dean Thompson, NBC News. Just wanted to ask you, how well do you think this team stacks up against Gonzaga?
It's funny. Pat's question was sort of the whole thought process. They're very similar to us. They play 2 post players. They got 3 players on the perimeter. Any of the 3 of them can be the point. They believe in running. They believe in getting the ball inside. They change their defenses a little, but not much. They're mostly a man-to-man team. So we're very similar. They have more size than anybody we played all year long. Florida State was big, long, but maybe not truly as much size and coming off the bench too, other than Ojo. So it's going to, our big guys are going to be challenged a lot different way than they have been before. I think that he's done a better job coaching, and their team has done consistently a better job throughout the entire season than anybody else. I mean, they're 37 and I think it's 37-1. Is that correct? I know they only had one loss, and everybody said, well, they played in this league. They played Florida. Florida was pretty good, and they beat Florida. They played Arizona. Arizona was pretty good. They beat them. They played Iowa State. Iowa State was pretty good. They beat them. I mean, basically everybody that stepped up in front of them, they've beaten. And in the tournament, they got some very good teams, West Virginia, and then turn around and get South Carolina. So I have a tremendous amount of respect and maybe even some fear because I want to see how our guys are going to react playing against some other big guys like that.
In the center, Steve.
Hi, Coach. Steve Futterman from CBS News. I think the general public, not the basketball public, the general public views this game, when you look at the historic backgrounds of both these schools, as a David versus Goliath matchup. And I'm sure you understand why.
Yes.
Can you talk about the respect you have for what Gonzaga has done? I mean, from 20 years, North Carolina was winning championships 20 years ago. Gonzaga was pretty much putting the seeds in.
No, I think you're exactly right that may be the way it's perceived. As David and Goliath, but when you start watching them, there's not that much difference. And I really believe, I'm not trying to blow my opponent up, I really believe throughout the course of the season they did a better job than anybody. People can have that thought process, and if you just look at a short-term history, it is pretty valid. But I remember in I can't remember what year it was. It was a long time ago in the mid-'90s, and it may have been when Monson was coaching there, and he's a Looney Tune as well. Okay, I just saw him outside. But their team was really, really good. We played them in Allen Fieldhouse one night, and they were sensational. So we've played Mark's teams twice. We played them in the preseason NIT, and they beat us. We played them in the Sweet 16, and we beat them. But I just have a great deal of both, respect and fear both, because I think they're really good.
All the way up front to the left.
Paula Bowen of the Arizona Republic. Roy, you meet a lot of coaches over your career, have relationships with them. Why do you think you connected with Mark? I mean, he talked so warmly of you as well.
It's different the way you perceive it. Until the last couple of years, I've always thought of myself as a young coach. The last couple of years, I haven't really felt that way. But Mark told the story the first time I'd heard it about the first Nike coaches trip that he went on, and that all these quote, legends or whatever it were, icons, I think is the word that he used, Boeheim, Krzyzewski, Williams. And he said that Wanda and I he and Marcy just sort of embraced them. And I'd had a very good friend of mine who had coached with me, Mark Turgeon, that knew Mark Few, and said great things about him and the whole bit. And Jerry Green was on that staff at Oregon as well at that time. So to me, I had the recommendation already. And I like people. I try to start everybody out in the middle. You can go either direction. But and we've played poker together. We've played golf together. We've gambled together. We go eat together sometimes in Vegas at the places. So that started it just because I genuinely liked him. And then the times we played them, I didn't even tell him this. I meant to this morning. We're playing them in preseason NIT. And for some reason, I got 7 or 8 guys wear headbands out, the white headbands kind of thing. And they kicked our tails. And I went in the locker room afterwards and said, get those headbands off. I'll never see those again the rest of my life. Blah, blah. So no North Carolina players ever worn it. So Mark Few changed our program in some ways. But it is respect.
Left side toward the center.
Hey, Roy. Vahe Gregorian, Kansas City Star. You were talking before about the thin margin at the end of the game last night, how crazy that was, and obviously could have turned out differently. Did you have some sense of the devastation of Jordan Bell after the game? I know you're thinking of your team, but going through the line, and did you have a message for a guy on the other team when they take it on their shoulders like that?
Vahe, a lot of people say I talk too much, and most of them are right. But I do try to say something to the other coach if they win or if I win, either one. And with them last night, it looked like that, he was the guy that got beat on the box out. And I grabbed him, and because I'd watched his game against Kansas, and he was phenomenal. And I grabbed him and I said, don't let this one game make you forget what you did to get here. And then I read the article in the paper this morning about how hard he was taking it, and you feel badly. Last year, Isaiah Hicks tried to take the blame for Chris Jenkins' shot, and it wasn't Isaiah's man. Somebody else didn't pick up what they were supposed to do. And so I met with the press last year. I think is the first time I've ever met with the press after the season was over with, just to clear it up that it was not Isaiah's mistake in that game. But he'll have Dana and Dana's staff and his teammates to help him, but it's a tough time for him, yes.
There's three toward the back.
Roy, Phil Orban from WSOC in Charlotte. Kennedy has 17 rebounds against Kentucky, and then last night 25 and 14. What does it do for you as a coach to have a guy like that willing to do seemingly whatever it takes, whatever's needed to help the team?
I told him last night he had 15 if he had done what he's supposed to do. One time he came down on the break and shot the ball from the free throw line. He's got Justin Jackson right over there. I said, now tell me again, do you think our team does better with you shooting and Justin rebounding, or Justin shooting and you rebounding? You know, it's a pretty easy answer. But, no, he's really been good, And we need him to do that. I mean, it's a weird game. Guys, we got Theo 2 for 8, Isaiah 1 for 12, Joel 2 for 14. That's 3 starters, and we won. And so what had to happen is some other guys really had to more than balance them out, and Kennedy really did some great things.
All the way in the back.
Jacob Thorpe, Spokane Spokesman Review. Roy, more than the 2005 or 2009 teams, this team has a lot of in-state guys in prominent roles, and I'm wondering how that changes the team dynamic, having all these Carolina guys, and if in some way that's a result of the investigations maybe making national recruiting a little more difficult.
You know, it's made recruiting more difficult, I know that, but also, you know, I love having in-state kids if they're good enough. When I was at Kansas on a Monday night call-in show, a guy sort of got on me about, you know, you don't have very many Kansas guys. Kansas State's got all of them, and this is no disrespect to Kansas State. I said, well, we've beaten them 15 straight times, you know, and so for us, I always would love to have in-state kids. They're acclimated so much easier. Their family can see them more often. It's a more enjoyable experience sometimes. And, you know, sometimes a guy from California can come to North Carolina and think it's the greatest thing in the world, but it's easier for people to do that from in the state. I try to recruit the best players I can possibly recruit, and I never want to forget the kids in North Carolina. We're in our area. I still remember, Luke, help me, Cornbread Maxwell. And Coach Smith was always mad, and he would bring up Cornbread's name anytime somebody talked about, well, this kid here in such a little town in North Carolina. And Coach always said, let's go see him. And I've tried to do that at Kansas and at North Carolina. Joel, you can come on up too.
We'd like to welcome in Theo Pinson and Joel Berry II. We'll take questions for Coach Williams and for either one of the student athletes at this time. Let's go to the back of the room.
It's actually perfect timing. Coach, here in the middle, Mike
Yes.
Solarte,
Hey, Mike.
Spectrum Sports, or Spectrum News. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Mike.
Question for all three, actually, here. Justin Jackson, we've talked a lot about Kennedy Meeks this afternoon, but Justin Jackson and his impact on the program, how is it quantified, not just on the court, but what he's meant to this program off the floor and in school and on campus, that sort of thing, from your perspective, Coach, and from his teammates, if possible, as well?
We'll go to Coach first, then we'll go to the King of Press Conferences, Theo, and then we'll go to Joel.
You know, he's been a very good basketball player for a long time. We recruited him, thought he could be a sensational basketball player. First 2 years, every time he shot it, you've heard me say before, I thought it was going in, but it just didn't go in. And I always tell him I don't like shooters, I like makers. And I think his teammates here would probably have a great deal of respect for how hard he's worked since the season was over last year. He went through the combine, was told the same kind of thing. You need to get a little more athletic. You need to work on your body. You need to be able to shoot the ball and make the shots. And I think he's spent a tremendous amount of time working on that. And now we see the product of all that work. And he's a scorer. He's hard to handle. The floater he made the first half last night from the right side was, I haven't seen many shots like that. And he's the only guy. I mean, I love these two guys up here, but they shoot a floater, my heart jumps up my throat. Okay, he shoots a floater, and I get sort of cocky, you know, kind of thing. But the work he's put in, and then the kind of person he is, because these two guys here are on him all the time, and he's just he's sort of their dummy because they pick on him all the time. But he handles it pretty well.
Theo.
Yeah, Justin's put in so much work this summer, and even before that, he was putting in a lot of work. Just a lot of shots didn't go in for him, but he kept at it, put in work, and got in the weight room with Jonas a lot this summer. And I mean, I think the biggest thing is he showed the younger guys and even the upperclassmen, if you put in the work, you see what can happen. I mean, Player of the Year, ACC, best conference in the nation. I mean, it just shows for itself.
And Joel.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. He spent a lot of hours in the gym, and as you can see on the court, I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do, and that's just from the work that he put in. And I have the utmost respect for him just because he just put in all the time, and that's what you have to do if you want to be that kind of player that he is. And as you can see, he's a big-time player for us, and, you know, the first 2 years he didn't have all the opportunities that he would have liked. And, you know, now being an upperclassman on the team, he has more freedom and more opportunities, and he's just taking advantage of them.
On the right side toward the center.
Roy Mark at ABC 11 back in Raleigh. Maybe you betrayed it by recalling a criticism from however many years ago about K-State, but you had that great timeout discussion a couple weeks back too. Am I crazy, or are you letting criticism roll off your back a little more now? Are you at peace more with that, or are you still combative?
It depends what kind of mood I'm in, I guess. But, you know, I made the statement, and you may have, Mark, been at the press conference. Two easiest jobs in the world is a basketball coach and a golf course superintendent, because everybody that plays golf course, they say, why did he do that, or why did he do this? And they couldn't tell the grass from a grain of sand. And that's the way I feel like it is in basketball. Everybody's got a better idea. But I think, to me, this last one got to be so humorous. I mean, it was really, I mean, you know, for 29 years, you know, why you think I should change? Just because you guys want me to change? I mean, and we've won a couple of games in there, but the criticism about the no timeout in the Duke game is just, it was, to me, that was sort of humorous, to be honest with you.
On the right side.
Brett Friedlander, North State Journal. Joel, how did the ankles respond, and how they feel today? And do you feel like that they'll be better or worse tomorrow than they were yesterday?
I actually feel better. I woke up this morning and didn't have any stiffness, and that was my biggest worry. And I was able to get right up out of bed and just walk normally. So
he tripped over a game controller, which is funny.
They're feeling pretty good, and you know, we got all day to rest, and I know we have practice and everything, but we got, you know, the rest of the day to be able to do some rehab, and we already started this morning. So you know, anything that I do will just help a little bit more.
Theo, do you know how he's talking about we got practice? He knows I'm going to hold him out of a lot of the stuff today.
I got practice.
Theo's got practice. Joel's got to be out there standing. No, we're not going to stand beside me because I'm not standing on the basket anymore.
We only know if we want him walking right now. The way he acted.
I'm not going to get hit with the basketball anymore. That was last week.
We have two on the back left. Let's start with Chuck.
Yeah, Roy, Chuck Culpepper from the Washington Post. Even within your line of work and your level of your line of work, the sequence of events you went through, say 363 nights ago in Houston, was really rare experience. And I'm wondering if you have a description of what maybe the tangle of what you feel during the next few hours, the next 24 hours after that is like.
You know, Chuck, it really is hard to explain. You know, sometimes when Marcus made that shot, I said, let's get a stop. We get into overtime. And I didn't say we'd win. I said, let's get a stop and get into overtime. But I really felt like that was going to be Marcus Page's defining moment, and he'd had hundreds of them. And then when Chris goes down and makes that shot, as soon as he let it go, I knew it was going in. I mean, I didn't even keep looking. And so for me, it was one of the most difficult things to handle as a coach, to have something snatched, an opportunity. You know, we weren't going to win the game if it didn't go in. We still had to beat them in overtime. But to have the opportunity to try to play a few more minutes and have it snatched away, and I've told these guys this before too, in the locker room was the most, it was the most difficult time I've ever had as a coach, because I felt so inadequate. What was I going to say to my guys? And that's the part that was really hard. And but since that time, I haven't watched the game. I probably never will watch the game. And I've tried to coach this team. And we met at my house on August, I think it's 22nd. And they had just done the 12-minute run. And Wanda had dessert for them. And I told them, I was looking around in my living room that I thought I had in front of me the kind of guys that could win a national championship. And so I've tried to focus on that, our dreams and our goals, and not as much that we got to make up for something, because last year's over with. Chris Jenkins, Villanova got a wonderful experience. It was very difficult for us. But I've really tried to concentrate on coaching this team, and I really have not gone to bed every night thinking about that game. I've gone to bed every night trying to think how I could coach this team to the best of my ability.
Staying on the left all the way back.
Liz Bloom, ACC Digital Network. Roy, you've been criticized for being a little superstitious, and you actually had the hat that Shea Rush made for you last weekend. Did that hat travel with you? And then for the players, has any of Roy's superstitions or some of those playful things rubbed off onto you guys? I know, Theo, you always dance first in the circle. So is that kind of a superstition for y'all?
Yeah, some way, I don't know how, but the hat did find its way to Phoenix here. It's with me on this trip, and as we were talking here earlier, I've been criticized for everything from no timeouts to superstitions to getting emotional at press conferences. I've been doing it a long time, so I'm okay. But I'm fairly superstitious. But these are not two clean guys up here either. They got some superstitious stuff with them.
I wore my hat too. I'm not gonna lie.
Joel would have worn his, but his big old head couldn't get it on there right there.
Yeah, I always dance first, but I think that's my time, so I'll always go first. But nothing else really.
You got any superstitions, Joel?
No, not really. Mine's is just I always for some reason put my left shoe on before my right shoe, but that's the only thing I got.
What about your sock?
Nah, my sock I just put it on randomly, but my shoes I always have.
Started worrying me. I always put my left sock on first and my left shoe on first, and I thought, Jiminy Christmas, this is getting deep. This press conference is disintegrating fast, quickly.
Let's see if we can get two more in to the right, all the way back.
Back here, Mark Tracy from the New York Times. You were involved in a game last weekend where afterwards one of the refs was subject to some pretty nasty stuff online. You probably heard about that. Obviously, no one's expecting anyone to agree with the referees 100% of the time, but do you feel like over the years the vitriol they face has gotten worse, and if so, why?
My own personal opinion is there's different ways to do it now with social media. Anybody can say anything you want at any time. There were some calls. I've held a grudge since 1981, against the referee, so, I know what they feel like, but it's a shame that it got to the extent that it did. That's not healthy. It's not right. It's not humane, and it shouldn't go that far. We're playing a game, whether we try to admit it or not, and I'm one of the worst because I call it a lot of times this is my life, but we are playing a game. We are providing entertainment, and for it to go to that extent to a very good referee who's had a very good career, that was pretty harsh.
Final question, front left.
Hey, Coach, JB Ricks with Spectrum News. I asked Mark Few what North Carolina had as far as a clear advantage going into this game with this matchup. Both teams matching up very well, size and athleticism, and he immediately said coaching, obviously with your experience and this being his first time. But my question is, what is more important when it comes to a big game like this for the national championship? Is it going to be the coaching, or is it going to be the test of the will of your players and who gets those 50-50 balls and who wants it more?
Well, I'm sort of surprised. I thought he was going to say rebounding. I was going to say it was coaching is not it, that kind of thing, but I didn't know he'd said that. Mark does a great job with his team. He's so thorough, so organized. I think that we do a good job, and I say we because I've got such a magnificent staff. It's not just Roy Williams. I've got such a magnificent staff. I think what's going to be the outcome of the game tomorrow night is who plays the best. And if we make fewer mistakes and make a few more shots and they make a few more mistakes and make a few less shots, I think that'll be the difference. I think that experience takes care of some of this stuff. But when the game starts, nobody cares how long these guys had to sit at a press conference. Nobody cares how many cameras in there watching Theo dance in the locker room. When the game starts, my guys have got to play against his guys. And that's the bottom line. And we've played some teams before that I thought we could win 9 out of 10, but a national championship game, it's only one. And this is not one of those teams. We were fortunate in 2005. I thought Illinois was better than we were. If we'd have played a 10-game series, they would have won more. But you only have to win once. And so I'll try to do my best to get our kids to be relaxed, be focused, which some people think is hard to do, but I don't. Be relaxed, be focused, and play the best you can play and see what happens.
We'd like to thank Coach Williams, Joel, and Theo for joining us here in the main interview room. Coach Williams is going to move on to some rights holder obligations, and Joel and Theo will head to the breakout rooms. They'll be joined by 3 of their teammates in the breakout rooms from 2:20 to 2:40 p.m., and then from 2:45 to 3:15, student athletes at time. This housekeeping item from the USBWA, the awards luncheon transportation update. Shuttle buses leave from each media hotel tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the USBWA awards luncheon at the Point Hilton. You can grab a shuttle bus at 11 a.m. for the USBWA awards luncheon from your hotel and make your way over to that luncheon at the Point Hilton.